Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back in with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series. Rub your eyes. No more, because Arsenal have won a game of football under Mikel Arteta, our second win in, 13 games? And that is the only negative Arsenal thing I'm really going to talk about. I mean, I'm sure some others will crop up, but we're going to try and keep it as positive. I mean, Arsenal have just beaten Manchester United 2-0. Fantastic result. Absolutely buzzing with this. It's funny because this afternoon I felt a little bit ill. Didn't feel great. Game was on BT, so I've had to come back home, as you can see. And walk into the house in the cold wasn't great for my health. But it's funny how things can perk your day up, isn't it? It's funny how your mood can be completely transformed into something much more positive. Can make you shout and scream even though your throat is feeling like hell. And yet you can still pull yourself through because the Arsenal come round and do magnificent things. Let's see plenty of your comments. So good to see so many of you in there. Happy New Year, of course, as well. 2020 doing as well. Owen Martin says, wow, is his reaction. I think that was a reaction. A lot of people. Troy Chester says, fantastic result. Mikel the Man says, Kaig says, a win at home, finally. That is our first win in our last 4 matches. We lost 4 in a row at home, which is the first time we've done that since the 1950s. Quite unbelievable. KS1 says, we've got our Arsenal back. Anonymous is very happy there. Harry Xavier. Plenty of you guys in the chat box this afternoon. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Happy New Year, bro, says, and up the Arsenal says, Curette. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, everyone. We're going to get to plenty of your comments, but we're going to talk about the game and some different aspects because I was writing things down as we went through to sort of discuss, and I'm going to get your thoughts on them. Now, my immediate reaction to this game is Kolasinac. Kolasinac is the person that my head instantly goes to about this game. I want to come on to Pepe because, of course, he scored. But for me, what you saw against Bournemouth was Arteta, after just 3 days of training, tried to implement a system where he did not have the tools that he may have wanted to have at his disposal. He just didn't have them. And he really wants to use the wide areas. He really wants to use the fullbacks as some of his most key attacking weapons in his side. And having Kolasinac back is so beneficial to us because while Saka, I felt, has done a decent job, I can't really fault the guy too much. The only negatives I say is the final product, is the end product. Defensively, Saka's been okay. And actually, you could arguably say he defended better in the Bournemouth and the Everton game, for instance, than Kolasinac did today against Manchester United. But it's the attacking threat that Kolasinac brings to the team and the experience and the commitment and the drive and the chaotic crossing that he provides. And I just can't state enough how important that will be. I hope that when he was taken off, it isn't going to be too bad of a knock. Hopefully that ankle injury can recover. But at the same time, it's so important to have our first team fullbacks back. When Tierney comes back again, I can't wait to see what happens to Tierney underneath Arteta. When Bellerin's back as well, even though Maitland-Niles has been fantastic, you want to get that competition up and get as many of our first team players playing as feasibly possible. Omar says Kolasinac was brilliant against Manchester United. Goose says a couple. I've just missed you. Sorry, Goose. He says a couple more goals would have been a bonus. Of course, but we can't have everything, Goose. We can't have everything. Fred, what a player, says Mario Kart. E-commerce says joy. Carl Halberg, long-time listener, says yes. Tears in my eyes. The real Arsenal says, where are the Arteta haters now? Kaig says, needed to get a good to our positive. We really need to be a little bit more positive, and this result will definitely help. The Mizikal says, play players in their right positions, simples. And you saw Lucas Torreira being played at the base of a midfield. And Lucas Torreira was immense, tackling, intercepting, muscling players that are twice his height off the ball, getting into decent positions, nearly scoring. You got some of that Unai Emery coaching of him naturally still there, of him pushing forwards, and a fantastic turn, you have to say, in the box to give him that amount of space to take the shot. But that was a weak-footed shot from a player that's not usually used to being in that position. You know his right foot can be deadly. We know that from the North London derby a season or two ago. But it's it's the case in point that when we have Torreira at the base of our midfield, we are a much, much better team. It's as simple as that. You look at other players in the right positions. Mesut Ozil playing at 10. What a game Mesut Ozil had. It's amazing to see that under a new regime, under a new style, then what more can you ask? What more can you ask for? Because he provides you with so much creativity. Yes, he's not the best runner in the world and he's not the most committed, but actually today he did press. He did press their back line. He did press their midfielders. He forced mistakes. Even the most harshest Ozil hater out there can sit in their hole this evening because Mesut Ozil was brilliant. He was fantastic. Man of the match went to David Luiz from Sky Sports, which Martin Keown, not Sky Sports, sorry, BT Sport did, which was Martin Keown giving that out. And I mean, David Luiz is passing. There is always going to be the defensive errors from the Brazilian. He's always going to make you worry and crawl back into your shell sometimes and cringe at some of the things that David Luiz does. But if there's one thing that this guy can do, it's deliver a pass, because some of the passes out wide were brilliant. Absolutely fantastic to bring Aubameyang into play, to bring Pepe into play, to pass it through and connect the defence in the midfield. That connection between him and Xhaka and Torreira was solidly there all game. And it's fantastic to see that we've got this type of accuracy. And you know something else is that Granit Xhaka is going to be a hell of a miss. Who thought you'd be saying that when we're being linked with Granit Xhaka leaving? Because I will maintain forever that I don't think he should be playing after what he did. That's just my opinion. But I also have the opinion that you should back every single player that plays in an Arsenal shirt. And at the same time, whilst I don't think he should play because of what he did, and I still can't get over what he did, but the fact that he is playing, the fact that I will back any man in an Arsenal shirt and any woman in an Arsenal shirt, it doesn't matter, because he had a fantastic performance. He did really, really well. His passing was on point. I can't think of any real mistakes that Xhaka made in the game. I'm thrilled that he had a fantastic game, and I'm slightly concerned in terms of if he does go, what impact that will have. The rumours is that he's had discussions with Arteta, who wants him to stay to the end of the season, but Xhaka seems pretty, if you believe the rumours, pretty stalwart in his opinion that he wants to go to Hertha Berlin now in January. So maybe we've seen the last game from Xhaka, maybe not. We will just have to see. Drizzy says, why is Nelson playing? To be honest, I'm really not going to talk about too many negative comments this evening, because why? Why is that what we're focusing on? Why is that what we're focusing on? Gregory Beeler says, all hail Arteta. Javier says, Lacazette's ability to hold the ball cannot be overstated. And whilst I thought Lacazette had a difficult game, he's clearly a player out of form. He's clearly a player that desperately needs a goal, and a shot to go on target even. His hold-up play is really good. He does bring other players into the game. He has an important role in that front line. He chased back a lot. And I really was impressed with the amount of running and commitment Lacazette has to the cause. He just needs to get that goal. He desperately needs to work on that finishing, and it will come. It's just a case of confidence in that area. Chris Gewer says the best game that he has seen all season. Owen Young, who was on the show with us on the podcast the other day, says David Luiz turned into that hard nut centre-back we all talked about the other night. 100%, mate. Omar says, Tom, you should repay the amount of hours of sleep I will miss tonight. It's 1 a.m. in my place, yet I am still here. I appreciate you coming on the show, mate. I really do, and tuning in, because this is one of those games. Matt Hales says, Tom, we beat Man United on Emery last season. Also the same with Chelsea at home. Not really sure how relevant that is, Matt, to be honest. I think, honestly, Matt, you come in here and spread a lot of negativity, and I don't see the point of it. Arteta is going to be the guy to change this team. If you can't see what Arteta is changing in this side, and you cannot see the commitment that's changed, the pressing that's changed, the use of the wingers, the push of the youngsters still in a team which is devoid of real imagination until Arteta came in. You've seen in those 3 matches commitment. You saw against Chelsea a first half that was fantastic, that we collapsed in the second half because we just don't have the commitment yet in terms of fitness and trying to get this system for a whole 90 minutes. And you saw an element of that today. And the end of the game, definitely so. Man United started to press us. They came into the game more because we weren't able to sustain what Arteta wants. And it will take time to get to that level. If you look at Barcelona, they press continuously. And it's only towards the end of the match where they maybe slightly falter because it's a style of play that is very difficult to maintain. But if you cannot see the differences that Arteta has put in place in just a very short space of time, then it's quite simply that you're letting your own opinions blind you from that. And maybe you need to have a bit more of an open mind to the fact that Arteta is having a bigger and broader impact on this team. Burak says, I feel bad for Lacazette. He was trying so hard. Oh, Beast Tighter, that's mean. He's going to bully Mark. Don't go and bully Mark. Mark's been on the show before. Mark's okay. I know he drives a few of you insane sometimes, but he's all right. Carl Halberg in the chat says the content consumption tonight will be like my alcohol consumption over the holidays. Excessive. Calm it down, Carl. Calm it down, son. You can't drink too much. Everything in moderation. I'm a complete hypocrite. Jack the Ripper says Arteta talk the talk. He seems to be walking the walk, judging of the last 3 games. Absolutely loving it. Brig one. Q says our problem was a mental one. The guys did not have self-belief, and they definitely do seem to have that now. PM says, brilliant, Tom. Very good comments. It is 6 a.m. here in Hong Kong, but I am staying up. Good for you, PM. Good for you, son. Keep staying up. Keep putting your comments in. Really appreciate you joining in this evening. Seb John, I just saw your comment shoot up there. How people can't be hopeful when they look at what's happening on the pitch is mind-boggling. 100%, mate. Definitely agree with you. Simon Wong says, it's 6 a.m. here in Singapore. Good morning. I am so happy and confident we are heading in the right direction. We need to give him more. Arteta all the way. 100%. Simon, thank you for tuning in and welcome from Singapore. I had some Singapore rice last night and it was absolutely banging. Sailor V says Xhaka and Torreira were magnificent. We can't afford to lose Xhaka this January. Yeah, I mean, if you had said that a month ago about Xhaka, how many people would be turning around and saying that Xhaka is indispensable at the moment? Because you cannot say that he is integral to this team. I maintained that Xhaka is our best centre midfielder. If you look across the team right now, in terms of centre midfielders, I don't class Torreira as a centre midfielder. I class him as a central defensive midfielder. I class Ozil as a central attacking midfielder or a number 10. But in terms of number 8s, centre mids, you've got Xhaka, you've got Ceballos, you've got Guendouzi, you've got Willock. And for me, none of those are better than Xhaka in terms of what they give on the pitch. Maybe that goes to show that we definitely need to improve our quality. But if you lose Xhaka, that means you're playing Guendouzi, who you could see from the end of the game is out of form. It means you either play Ceballos, who we haven't really seen too much of other than that fantastic performance against Burnley. Can we guarantee that Ceballos would put in the defensive side of the game that Xhaka brings, or the wide range of passing that Xhaka brings? I think Ceballos would provide us a lot more going forwards. But in terms of the security to Torreira that Torreira needs at centre defensive midfield, I'm not sure Ceballos does that. I really don't. And Willock, in terms of his form, has really struggled of late. So I'm not sure that you'd get anything better. FC Arsenal said there, do you think that Ceballos can replace Xhaka? I don't think that you could play the system that Arteta wants and give Torreira that amount of security by replacing Xhaka with Ceballos. You'd have to go out and sign someone who was a flat centre midfielder who can be sort of that. You know, this is gonna really annoy a lot of people, but the example I use of a perfect midfielder is that guy on FIFA that's got over 80 stats in everything. that is that perfect midfielder who's really good at defending, decent at shooting, his passing solid, he's good on the ball. He can do an all-round. He's a jack of all trades, master of none. But I'd like a master of some, to be honest. But that's sort of how I see a centre midfielder. They need to have an all-round base. And Xhaka's got those to some extent. The difficulty with Xhaka is that he has mistakes that crop up into his game. He's very rash. He's very aggressive. He's got a bit of a short fuse. And so, therefore, that can be an issue in his game. But there are players out there that could arguably replace him. But, I mean, there's no reason to get rid of him right now. I hope that we can keep him to the end of the season at least, and then go for an upgrade possibly in the summer. Sailor V says, I've been always backing Xhaka. Previous managers wasn't playing to his strengths, 100%. FC Arsenal says, what about Doucouré as a possible replacement? Interesting take. I don't think Doucouré maybe offers you enough going forwards that I'd want for an upgrade. If we were going to go and sign someone, I think I'd want a little bit more. But if we signed Doucouré, I wouldn't complain because he is a decent player. He's a very good player. But it's just, I don't know. I just want that little bit extra. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me just being me. I wanting the very best, but just something a bit more. But I wouldn't be disappointed if we signed Doucouré. 1886 says, Tom, I think you have to check Luiz's post-match interview. He really let us in on what was wrong in the old regime. That's interesting. Please tell me in the chat box, what did David Luiz say? Try and condense some of those comments. We're going to stay on here for about 5 more minutes or so. Please tell me. Ebby says Thomas Partey. Yeah, for me, Thomas Partey would be a fantastic option to move forward from Xhaka, maybe. Definitely someone we need to look at. Goo says, honesty from Luiz and Socrates. Really, I'm really interested to know what they said. Maybe I'll have to do a video on it tomorrow if we can't condense those comments. I will try and find them though if I can. Janice also says, just saw David Luiz post-match interview and he made an extremely heartfelt speech. You have to check it out. Pressing, James, this is what James says. Pressing, wing play, commitment, aggression, game management. We're looking as though we're back on track. As soon as we get the fitness up, the consistency will come to. Optimistic for sure. TR, this is on David Luiz. He said the team is not physically ready to maintain that level for 90 minutes. I mean, there you go. That's exactly what we've been talking about. We've maintained that we don't right now have the ability to maintain the game plan and the game style for those whole 90 minutes yet. And that will come. And the issue is, massively so, is that we're in a period during the Christmas time where games are coming thick and fast. You're playing 2 games in a week, maybe even 3 sometimes. And if you want to try and work on your fitness, it's very, very hard to do that. And so that's why clearly Arteta's put a big focus on really trying to smash us in the first 45 minutes, get to oppositions, get an early goal, get a couple of goals in the first half, so that when the energy levels do drop, we can sort of manage that situation. And that will improve, and hopefully that will, and we can maintain it for longer during games. Ben says, what needs to be said over and over, this is an 8-month pre-season for Arteta, focus on the 2021. Yes, I agree to a certain extent, Ben, but I think the Europa League is going to be there. If this Arsenal team can play like they have played today, consistently across the Europa League, there is a chance, a very slim one, because I think that if you look at the teams that have dropped him, Inter Milan, very, very difficult. Manchester United, if we get them in the final, I think in a 1-game scenario and a neutral ground, Man United are on level terms of us, maybe even edging us. And that's based on the quality that I've seen them play with. I think today they were awful, if I'm honest. I think Man United were really poor, and that definitely played into our hands. So there's concerns for sure. Costa Cali says, Tom, can I officially take the Banter FC title on behalf of Manchester United FC? You can do as you wish. You can do as you wish. Steve Farrell says, question for Tom, can you see Bellerin getting back to the first team with Maitland-Niles playing very well? Why should he come straight back in? Maitland-Niles is doing a very, very decent job, but as I've already mentioned, very, very heavy congestion of fixtures. We're going to need to rotate. We're going to need players to come back. Having Bellerin back is going to be great, and you need to utilise that to the best of our strengths. Jovan says, we need top quality wingers and we need to sell Lacazette. I like him, but Aubameyang needs to play up front. Lacazette and Xhaka and Nelson are 30 mil for Sancho. Wow, that is a lot of players and money for Sancho. Lacazette, Xhaka and Nelson, you've got to assume that Dortmund would even want those players, which I'm not sure they would when they've just signed Erling Haaland. So I think that's a pipe dream, mate. I love your enthusiasm and your ambition, but I just don't see that happening. Ayox says, who is a realistic buy in this transfer window? Upamecano is a really, really interesting one. I think that there's more to that deal than meets the eye. I think that there is a clear interest from the club, from what I've heard and seen. The club maintain an interest in Upamecano and see him as a long-term target that could be a long-term player at Arsenal to partner Saliba. And if you think about it, you've got this 18, 19-year-old Saliba, you've got a 21, 22-year-old Upamecano, both French, good connection, good chemistry, speak the same language. I think that too could be a really, really interesting pair as they develop. And so that's something that you need to consider that the club will be looking for. I think that the chemistry between players as we move into this new era is going to be so important. Buying players of the right caliber, buying players that will play in the right system and will be able to work with each other instead of just sort of picking in between the lines and picking a player just because they did all right, or they're good here, or they're good for a season there, but not actually thinking about what they'll bring. Will they fit? Does it work? Does the language barrier a problem? Actually picking out players that are going to work together. You'll have a larger French contingent. You've got Guendouzi, you've got Pepe, all speaking French. Saliba, Upamecano, if he was to come in with as well. So all these players are going to be important, and chemistry is going to be a really, really big thing. Arsenal for Life says, what about Sensi for Inter Milan? Really, really good player. Tonelli, don't know too much about Tonelli. Is that the Tonelli that was at Empoli, or is still at Empoli? I'm not sure where he is now. But if it is, I think he was doing all right when he was at Empoli. I don't know if he's still at Empoli or if he actually left there. Don't know where. Oh, is he at Napoli now? Oh, I don't know. So many players in my mind about it. Avon says, can we really see RB letting him go? I mean, you could say that about almost any player, but if the price is right, if the player wants to come, can you really stop them? Huge result today. Absolutely fantastic result against Manchester United. Absolutely buzzing. It's a turnaround. It makes your week. It makes your day. It makes every single part of your life better when the Arsenal win, especially when we've been waiting for it for so long. I really hope you've enjoyed the show. I really hope you had a fantastic New Year's Eve yesterday. Apologies for the voice. I'm really, really struggling to get my words out right now, as you can probably tell, and I want to wrap things up there. If you've enjoyed the video, please drop a like on the channel and subscribe to it if you're new. And if you're watching on playback and you think, where are these comments coming from? That's my fantastic live chat. I've got one of the best audiences by far across all of the Arsenal and footballing channels on YouTube, and I really appreciate every single one of you guys. And if you want to join that audience and get into our live chat, make sure you click that notification button. It will notify you on your phone, your tablet, your device, or whatever space age product that you've got that tells you whenever something is coming around. And you can join in with the guys and ask their questions and put your views across. And maybe you get into a debate, which is always great, or maybe you get a question answered. But whatever, I really hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and your week. I will see you again very, very soon for another show. And as always, up the Arsenal.